So I started sex work probably when I was about 14 years old. I was using drugs. I was addicted to drugs at the time. I ended up doing it out of desperation at the time, really.
Before I started sex work, I was a single mum on benefits. I was broke, didn't have any childcare, and I had no practical support. I had no qualifications, and we were sinking, basically. So it sort of got to a point where I was borrowing money for rent and for food, and I was kind of forced to do it, really, at that point. It's allowed me to support my family in a way that I couldn't have done on minimum wage. It's been kind of a godsend, really.
Particularly when you're ill and doing a normal job becomes impossible. Fitting in work around mental health or physical illness and then making enough cash not only to pay your rent but to have a decent life seems really great, and it's much harder than it would seem.
In retail, everything is bad, literally everything. It fucked up my mental health so much. You get paid shit money, shit conditions. When I'm doing sex work, even if I'm not making as much as I want to, I'm still like totally OMG, because in one day I can make the same amount I would make in a month.
Probably would spend like £40 a day on drugs. Materialising £40 a day at that time felt like a really difficult thing to do. So I could probably make maybe like up to £100 in a night then, which at the time was a crazy amount of money to me. It would be a decision that I didn't particularly feel great about, but it would always be a sort of pragmatic decision. I couldn't turn up to an office job or a job in like a restaurant because I was a heroin addict. Like, I couldn't do that. It was sort of the only solution for me at the time in order to make money, to survive, to live.
There's no government benefits available to me, even though I've been fighting for disability-related benefits for nearly a year now. And knowing you have to take a booking with someone you don't like the sound of and don't really want to see, but you can't afford to turn it down, is never fun. Work gets harder when the phone stops ringing. I will have less choice in what I can do, and I will see the nasty-sounding man who sounds like he might be drunk because I don't have any other option.
It's illegal to share a flat with someone else. It becomes a brothel, and a lot of clients know this. People do work in this really isolated way. So I feel in danger sometimes when I'm working late and I'm on my own, and I get this sudden image of my dead body lying on the bed. I wonder how my mum would find out and who would tell her.
It's so normal, though, as well. It's so normal for us to think of things like that. It's normal to think of your own mortality in such practical ways, like what happens if I get killed today? It is really dark. It's something I think about a lot in terms of the kids. When I first moved here, I obviously didn't know anybody, and when I went to work, I was constantly thinking about what would happen if I did get killed. There was no one to pick my children up. That was quite a harrowing prospect.
I definitely worried most days that something could happen to me. I always worked on my own. There was definitely no way we were ever going to stand together and like be a sort of unified presence on those roads, because it would have been so obvious. And if a cop drove past and saw that, there was no way we would be allowed to just stand there all together, quite clearly soliciting. So no, we worked really in isolation and very individually.
Well, the things that make me feel safer, I mean, obviously that the client is screened. If they've given me enough information that makes me feel as though there's a mutual trust there. Could someone log into my email and trace them? If the answer is yes, then I feel a lot safer. They're already bad enough to get screening out of most of the time. It's like getting blood from a stone. But if they know that they're actually at risk of prosecution, they're not going to give me anything.
When clients were afraid of breaking the law, a lot less was said. There was just an air of everything being rushed and hurried. I never saw anyone's ID or driver's license. I didn't even ask for names. I would just get into a car. Because the client was so weary, there was just an overall rush to get you in the car, to get out of there as quick as possible, further away from built-up areas where there are potentially people walking by or people who can hear you if you need help. And you didn't know whether their weird behaviour was because they were afraid of the law or because they were potentially dangerous.
With client criminalisation, I feel that would lead to taking a phenomenal amount of risk in who I'm meeting. There's been times where I've been real hard up and I've had to take bookings from people that I ordinarily wouldn't have done, and I feel like with less customers and yet still a saturation of workers, it's going to make it even more thin on the ground. It's going to push our rates down, it's going to push our screening requirements down.
I've still to this day never gone to the police about anything that's happened to me at work. I've always felt that that is just not an option. I felt like it wouldn't matter, and I definitely never felt like it would be possible to get any sort of help if anything happened, and I survived it.
I had immigration come to my house, literally knocked on my door, and they asked me for my passport. Yeah, I definitely worry about being deported. Now, after that incident, I definitely wouldn't call the police. If I ever had issue at work, I know they would victimize me. I would be scared because I'm not from here. I don't have my English passport, so I wouldn't want to take like any chances with them, definitely.
I would always much rather deal with a violent client by myself. I feel that the police would 100% make things worse. I feel that they would not be on my side. Again, when you have children, it's another layer of fear, and that you will suddenly become the criminal who isn't fit to raise your children. I'd be frightened that my ex would find out and he would take them. Honestly, I just feel so much safer if I just knew I could ring the police if something happened. Knowing that I could be subject to brothel keeping, it just makes it impossible. I would love to work in a collective, to be able to work sort of safely with my colleagues, for it to be sort of an equal endeavour, for there to not be a manager or any kind of fear.
The thought of having someone in the next room as a deterrent for violence and as an actual backup if something did happen would be incredible, and really there's not many people who get to work like this. It would be so great to know that your friend is in the next room and you could just shout if something went wrong.
You feel like so alone, and when you're not alone, you wouldn't feel scared to step up. I would just like press my panic button if we was going to be like 5 of us, 5 people against 1 man.
I think about it a lot. I can imagine having this big hippie co-op with like plants and books and all my friends in a common room that we could hang out in. I know in reality there would be clients coming in to spoil it, but I still like this as a fantasy.
So many anti-sex work feminists have never had the experiences we've had, and our voices aren't listened to. And a lot of sex workers would agree that the sex industry isn't a good thing. It should just be about, are we safe and how are we living? More than anything, we should be listened to, even if our opinions do differ.
A job's a job. You're not meant to love your 9 to 5 girl in the office. If you're not 100% happy all the time, they start to think, oh, maybe we should take away her job. And it's like, no, I need money. If they take away my online platforms, I don't know how I will find a safe way to advertise. If I can't use my apps that say a call is coming in from someone who's been reported, then what am I going to do?
If I woke up and the sex industry was gone, that would be my life over. I'd be destitute. We would very quickly be homeless. Even just thinking about it makes my chest kind of tighten up a little bit.
This is my safety net. I don't really have a backup plan. It's terrifying, and especially with my mental health issues. If you took away my one source of income right now, which is just about keeping me treading water and not drowning, then yeah, I would drown.
It's very upsetting to hear feminists talking about eradicating the industry and about ending demand because they're not offering us an alternative. I've been on benefits, I've done the minimum wage jobs, none of them have been adequate. It's almost boring, isn't it? People don't want to hear about, once again, how austerity is shafting us. People don't want to hear about that over and over again. But the most violent thing I think that I face personally is the constant threat of poverty. You can't take away our means of earning money and then give us nothing to fall back on. I think sex workers deserve the fucking world. I think they're the most amazing people I've ever met. I would love for us to just be able to get on with our jobs, get on with raising our children, get on with our lives without constant scrutiny, without stigma, and without a lack of human rights. That's all I want.